Weencast, a Ween podcast with Shane and Rory. Hey, what's up? This is Shane.
And this is Rory.
And this is Weencast. And we welcome you to the Weencast Summer Spectacular Ween Fan Story Contest results.
Drum roll. Hell yeah, everybody. It's been an awesome summer. Despite the crazy pandemic. Lots of awesome podcasting and positive vibes out there from everybody. And now we're kind of winding down the summer. So we're happy to lay out the winner of the fan story contest. This is going to be awesome.
Yeah. We want to say thank you so much to everyone for sending in such great stories, and it's been so much fun listening to everything. Before we get into it real quick, we just want to mention, check us out on Patreon. It's patreon.com/weencastpodcast. At this point, we have a few full-length exclusive episodes up on Patreon, some cool outtakes and cool clips and stuff, and a whole host of cool write-ups that we've been working on in the last few months. And we're trying to just keep it fresh and keep it updated and have more and more stuff up on Patreon every month, and it helps support the show, and we really appreciate all of our patrons, and check it out.
Yeah, man. Keep it fresh and keep it real. Yeah, so the winner of the fan story contest, of course, is going to win a beautiful cutting board from West Brandywine Woodworks, just a little bit out of Philadelphia. Cool little woodworks company that specializes in cutting boards and doing all kinds of rehab on bookshelves and benches and creating wooden art and crafts. And they're really excellent. And the winner of this contest gets a beautiful Boognish emblazoned cutting board. We'll have pictures up on the social medias. But I got to tell you, Shane, it's beautiful. I just sent you the pic, man. What do you think?
Yes, dude. I just saw the actual finished product for the first time. I'm jealous because I don't have one. And it's fucking fat. This is gonna be a great prize.
Yeah, the wood's like laid in like multiple like different kinds of like trees and like beautiful colors of the brown and the light, the wood grains. It's just really beautiful. And
it's fucking fat.
Yeah, and the burn work on the Boognish is also pretty nice. They're out there for anyone out there who wants their own cutting board emblazoned with a Boognish. You just want to get a hold of West Brandywine Woodworks, either on Etsy, Facebook, or Instagram, or what have you out there. If you use the code Weencast, they'll give you 10% off and free shipping for orders over $100. I have two of their cutting boards in my kitchen, and they're awesome. And they're the one's so nice that I barely even want to use it. So anyway, so check them out. And we'll be shipping out to the winner of this contest that beautiful cutting board here in the coming weeks here. So
it's
anyway, awesome. So that's that plug. And you got anything else, man? You want to get into the story
I think we should get into it. I mean, like I said, thank you so much to everyone for sending in the stuff. It's just been so great, and just we've just cracked up listening to these, and I think it's just a lot of good range of different stories from all kinds of different like perspectives and stuff like that. But it was actually really fun to just not know anything about what the story was going to be when you started it. So it was just been a lot of fun, really.
Yeah, dude, it's been a lot of fun listening to everyone's stories. And I got to tell you, Shane, when we first came up with this idea, we just were trying to have some fun during the pandemic. And I just sort of thought, if we even get just a couple entries, this would be like the coolest thing. And we ended up getting so many entries that we couldn't play everything on the episode.
Right.
Right. And so, so I apologize first off to anyone whose submission doesn't make the episode tonight. Just because you didn't make the episode doesn't mean it wasn't a good story. We just
they were all great.
Yeah, we just had a lot of entries, and so that's just really cool. So I want to say thank you to our fans out there, and especially those submitting the stories. And yeah, so I say we get down to it here. So the way we're gonna lay this out for you is we'll say that the first collection that we're gonna share stories are honorable mentions. We'll say that these are honorable mentions. These are in no particular order at this point. So our first honorary mention, we're actually going to start with a double story with from Bill and Fred, from Bill and Fred's excellent adventure. Everyone should know Bill and Fred if you know Ween. And we, of course, have interviewed both of those guys, so check out those episodes. But they totally wanted to have some fun and play along. So yeah, how about I play those stories for us? What do you say?
Let's hear it.
What's up, Ween heads? It's Travis from West Brandywine Woodworks here. I'm back with an exclusive offer for Weencast listeners only. As you know, West Brandywine Woodworks creates handmade items for the home, and I would like to extend a 10% discount on all orders and free shipping on all cutting board and serving tray purchases over $100. Just mention Weencast when you place your order. It's that simple. You can find us on Facebook and Instagram. Don't forget to mention Weencast for your 10% off and free shipping on board orders over $100. And as an added bonus, I'll even hand deliver to you if you're within 30 miles of the shop. For quality you can depend on, come to West Brandywine Woodworks and mention Weencast. Boognish lives!
I was on mushrooms.
You tell your two first.
All right.
And then I'll tell mine.
All right, because they're both short. That's why I think I'd tell two.
Yeah. All right, hang on 1 second. You ready?
Yeah.
Okay, hey guys, it's Bill and Fred. And,
Hey, how you doing?
And this is our stories about Ween or Ween related.
With reverb.
Yes, with
Yeah,
reverb.
Right.
We're just about to go on.
We're in the chamber.
That's right, in the bunker chamber.
Go into the dark, just like on Channel Zero. New show I'm watching. Into the dark.
Right.
All right, so Ween was supposed to play at City Gardens opening for Fog Hat. It's me and George Altonen went to City Gardens, and we're waiting. And there's no sign of the guys at all. And this is when they were still a two-piece, the two guys with the tapes. And Randy Ellis comes up to us because he knew us, and he's like, those guys just canceled. Mickey called up and said that Aaron has cervical cancer and they're not playing tonight.
And the funniest part of the story is Bill left.
And then I left. We didn't even stay for Fog Hat. Me and George just went home. We were so pissed off. I wanted to see Ween. And here's Freddie.
I got invited to see Bustle in Your Hedgerow. They played outdoors at the Ardmore Music Hall in the parking lot. It was like Dr. John, Bustle in Your Hedgerow.
Is it Bustle in the Hedgerow?
Bustle in the Hedgerow. And
Led Zeppelin?
That's, Dave, Joe Russo, and those Scott Metzger and Marco.
You going to see Bustle, dude?
Totally. So I went to, got invited and went, and I had a sticker. So I went, of course, backstage there was no real porta pots. There was like 2 and they were in use. So I walked out into the crowd and I found a porta pot, did my thing, came back. And as I was walking back, this guy says, "Dude, what's up? What's up, man?" And I'm like, hey, what's up, man? Do I know you? He's like, "No, man, I'm just a fan." I'm like thinking to myself, this guy must be a Spittoon fan or Bill and Fred fan or I don't know. So I didn't really think too much of it. And then he was like, he had this weird look in his eye. And he kept asking me a whole bunch of questions like, how long are you here for? What are you doing? Blah, 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 blah. And I was like, I'm just, are you playing? I'm like, no, I'm just hanging out. So he yells across the field to this group of people that are, "Honey, honey," and all his friends. It's like his wife and all his friends were walking back into the festival. And he was like, "Honey, honey, come on over here." So this whole group of people, like 10 people, come over. And they're like, "Hey, I want to introduce you to Gene Ween." And I was kind of like, what? Like, okay. So I just went along with it. Like, hey, took a couple selfies, and then was like, hey, I gotta go. Those guys are waiting for me. See ya. So when I got back, I walked up to Dave and Monica. Dr. John was playing, and my buddy Peter, and they were like, what's so funny? And I was like, dude, I just got mistaken for Gene Ween. And they were all like, what? I'm like, that was exactly my reaction. But I guess it must be the Billy Joel thing. I don't know. I had like people mistake me. Like, you look just like Billy Joel, you know? So I guess it's just the gray-haired bald guy thing. Anyway, that's my story.
Ween stories.
Excellent.
That's a hilarious 1-2 punch for you.
Well, first of all, on the Bill story, I mean, that's just, now obviously we know that Bill Fowler goes way back with them, you know, as a friend and a collaborator and everything. But like, man, when you put like those things together, Ween at City Gardens, it's like, fuck, like now you're talking the old school shit. Like, that's just amazing that, you know, he remembers that kind of stuff, and you know, he was there and he was part of that crew and everything, and it's like, fuck, and to hear him say Ween opening for Foghat, it's like, Jesus, like, fuck me, man, like, how fucking long ago is that? I mean, it's just those old school stories like that where you're talking old, man, it's like, fucking shit, you know, that's way before, you know, our time with them. And I mean, just those old stories like that are just fucking amazing.
Well, dude, I always love a story that has more to do with the opening band than the actual main act, you know?
That's true too, yeah.
So, because I know that I've been there as well, where it's like I've left after the opener because it's like, dude, that's what I wanted to see, you know? So that's pretty awesome. You know, I also love that Fred, you know, with the Philly connection, and you know, so his stories at the Ardmore Music Hall. So I thought that was an awesome detail.
Yeah, and as far as Fred goes, it's like, I don't know if I see it. I think maybe that guy, like he was saying in the story about the Billy Joel connection and the whole Gene Ween does Billy Joel, that kind of makes sense. But also I think it's like, you know, Fred's always been one of those guys who just keeps like popping up, you know, over the years, and it's just sort of like, you know, Fred and Ween just kind of like went together, and you know, I don't know, it's kind of one of those things, it's like, you know, you got to be careful what you wish for. Next thing you know, you're going to, you know, people are going to think you fucking are them, you know.
No, it's hilarious. It's hilarious. You know, it's funny because, you know, Fred saying, oh, I guess maybe the Billy Joel thing. And it's like, you know, dude, no, that doesn't count. Like, I don't know. It's like, sorry. Like, I hope that's not disrespectful to anyone, but, and maybe it's because I know a little better, but I feel like Fred and Gene don't look too much alike.
Yeah,
which is
I don't know if I
story,
see it.
So that's fantastic. Yeah, so our next honorable mention goes out to our buddy Dan. This is a cool story about some Ween touring and kind of a random incident while he was camping between shows. So shall I roll the tape?
Do it.
Let's go back to 2017. Ween did a northeast little run. Went to shows in Brooklyn, Baltimore, and then up to Cooperstown, New York. Met a couple of my friends up there. We knew that it was going to be a shit show. So get up there, have some edibles, get the day started, and then have a couple of drinks. Found our campsite, went into the show. Fantastic show. Ween toured up that night. Get back, found some guys in the parking lot who had something called TB2, and that got us really going. So now it's like 1 a.m. after the show. I don't know what time, real late, and the people in the tent next to us are playing acoustic guitar and singing Ween, and I'm just thinking in my head, I'm like, Jesus, these guys are terrible. They're all banged up. Next morning, I'm getting in my car and go on Facebook to check what's going on in the world. And there's a posting, and Diener was playing in a tent or around a tent with a bunch of people. And there was video of it. And I'm like, Jesus, if I could have only gotten up, I could have joined the party.
That's so cool. I mean, it just goes to show you that, like, Diener is just always up to something. And it doesn't shock me because it just, that's so him. You know what I mean? That's so Diener. A quick little side note. I'm pretty sure the venue he's talking about is Omegang Brewing Company. And I've actually been there. If anyone has never been up to Cooperstown, it's absolutely beautiful. And that's kind of one of those, like, it used to be like a little kind of rinky dink, like, craft brewery sites in like the Northeast, and now it's like, huge. Mm-hmm. So check them out if you never have before. But very cool story.
Yeah, totally. And of course, like, terribly ironic because he's kind of like, oh man, these guys suck. And then it ends up being, it's like Diener. It's like if he only knew,
Well, I mean, Diener's allowed to be, not on when he's not on. You know what I mean? It's, it's all for fun when you're in the campground, hey.
Oh, and, middle of the night, you're exhausted and whatnot, and your perceptions are what they are. It's funny.
I'm sure no one was kicking him out of the tent for playing, whatever kind of quality he was playing that night.
Totally.
I'm sure they were just happy that he was there.
Cool. So our next honorable mention tonight, so we're just rolling right along here, comes to us from Cody. And so this is a great story. Let me roll the tape for you.
Hey everyone, this is Cody Swallow reporting to you from Baton Rouge, Louisiana. And I'm going to get into a little bit of how I got into Ween and the impact they've had on me throughout the years. It was around 2010 when I was first introduced to Ween. I was hanging out with some friends, sitting around the apartment, smoking. We're all taking turns, throwing on tunes. And this one guy who came in from out of town, he asked us if we'd ever heard of Ween. And the name at the time had sounded familiar because years before that, I was playing the Tony Hawk games, which features It's Gonna Be a Long Night, which at the time I had wrongly assumed them as being a sort of Motorhead wannabe band, which I just kind of wrote them off as. Well, this friend from out of town throws on Happy Colored Marbles, and it just stunned me. I didn't know what the hell I was hearing. I was like, this is nothing like I've ever heard before, and immediately went and bought Quebec, which I just devoured. And after that, I got into the mollusk and pure guava, chocolate and cheese, the main ones. And I had dabbled through those albums throughout the years, about 10 years or so, until one night, years later, I'd taken a few psychedelics, and I'm sitting alone in the apartment, and I want to listen to something weird, so I throw in some Ween, the usual mollusk, pure guava. And I think I'm going to dig in a little further and see if there's something I'm missing. Which, what I was missing was the pod, God, Ween, Satan, and Shinola. Not to mention the demos, which I would later come across. Hearing the pod for the first time under that mindset completely just blew my mind to pieces. And that was the one, and it still holds to this day as my favorite album of all time ever. And something about those albums, Pure Guava and the Pod, those are the ones that really kind of clicked for me, the Pod particularly. And it's hard to explain, it's hard to put your finger on, because Ween is as we all know, is a completely different breed of a band, and it took me years to finally get it. And I tell that to people now, I'm like, they're not easy to get into. They will require a little bit of energy and a little bit of patience from you. But the day that they completely make sense, your life is going to be a little different. A lot different, actually. It's like I've always described it. It's like having your consciousness tattooed in some way. And so I haven't yet seen Ween live. The first two opportunities I've had since really understanding this band is when COVID-19 came and shat on the face of the world and just wrecked everything. So next year, 2021, I will be driving from Louisiana to Minnesota. 20-hour drive. Never done that before, but for these guys, worth every minute. And I don't know, spread the word of the Boognish and carry on. Everybody have fun. Everybody stay safe and keep jamming them Ween tunes. Later.
That's a good origin story.
That's absolutely, and shout out to Cody, and he's obviously a younger fan and everything. I love how he uses the term consciousness tattooed.
Yeah.
And also how he talks about, the pod and Pure Guava, the pod especially, being one of those albums. It's always like the more satisfying albums that are a little bit harder to get into, but there's something about them that keeps you like coming back. And I think he kind of hit the nail on the head with that one in that story. It's like the pod is just one of those records. You know what I mean? And everyone always has those stories about the pod, and that's one of those albums that just keeps coming back up and being talked about, years and years and years later. You know what I mean?
Totes. And Cody, I'm sorry. It sucks that you haven't gotten to see Ween. And it sucks that the pandemic has gotten in the way of that, but I'm totally behind you 100% on your 20-hour drive. That would be totally baller if you can pull that off. So here's to hoping that things are getting back to normal by then, so that you can hopefully have an awesome story to tell us next summer, I guess, or exactly when that is. But
yeah, dude,
but I imagine that would be an awesome story when that goes down.
Yeah, I totally hope that those shows actually happen, and that Cody gets to go see them live finally. And dude, you won't be disappointed. You should totally try to make it happen if you're able to. You'll be in for a real treat.
Totes. All right, so our next honorable mention. This is our friend Sonia, aka Cult Boognish, out there on the Instagrams. She rocks out awesome tie-dye and various Ween-related crafts and art and whatnot. So you should check her
awesome shit.
You should check her shit out on Instagram, but also
totally
check out her story right now.
Hey guys, Sonia Majeski here from Cult Boognish. If you know, you know. I'm going to talk about how I got into Ween, what Ween has done for me, and what I'm going to do for Ween. So, how I got into Ween. The very first time I heard Ween, I was a little child. I was born in the 90s, so there you go. Was obviously Loop de Loop and SpongeBob, I mean, that's pretty wholesome. Great intro, I guess. Fast forward to about 2014, and I was hanging out with some of my crew, and, someone put on Bananas and Blow, and I was like, this is something. And then again, fast forward to 2019, about November, December, I met this dude. It's a really cool dude. And, I wanted to impress him by listening to his music and kind of getting a feel for what he was vibing with, because I just like that. Like, that's how I get to know people, with their music. And he was a really big Ween fan. So I was like, all right, let's see. So the first, album complete that I listened to was 12 Golden Country Greats, and I know that's like a weird place to start, you know what I mean? From what I've heard on Weencast and other Ween fans, that's a pretty interesting head start. The first song, I had it on Spotify and I was listening to it at random. I probably should have just listened to it, one through whatever, and the first song was Piss Up a Rope, and if that tells you anything, that was definitely a treat for a beginner Ween fan. But that's like my favorite album now anyway, so yeah, let's get it. So, I was really into all that. And I really started to vibe with a lot of the other albums and even some of the demos. So this boy, he loved Ween, and that's something we bonded over for a very long time, was like, oh, we're going to go to Ween shows, we're going to we're just gonna be so punk rock like that. We're just gonna, just enjoy it. We're gonna vibe to it. We're gonna meet all kinds of people. This is like how we came together. So that that inspired me to make my very first tie-dye like ever, and I did a hoodie where I put on the mollusk and some colors, and I made it for this boy because I just wanted to thank him and tell him, I really appreciate you existing and showing me this band, because this band has given me a new outlook on so much. I feel like that's the great thing about music, is that it can inspire you, it can make you feel things that you don't want to feel, it can make you feel things you really want to feel, and just the overall experience. I started to join all these Facebook groups, the Reddit groups, the Instagram community that's just centered around Ween and Boognish, and all these people all over the map. I got friends, all these good friends in different countries, and some just a couple hours away, and I really just love the Ween community as a whole. Shout out to Ween Army, my boy Rick, for everyone just being so kind and so inviting and so freaking supportive. This is what I feel like Ween wanted to do, besides make the best music ever made and be the coolest dudes on the planet. And I mean that, all of them, not just Diener and Jeaner. So I'm really thankful. Ween has inspired me to be the best person I can be, and has given me an outlet where I can make paintings and drawings and stickers and pins and clothing for fans, because that Ween gave me something to help me identify myself in this really crazy world. And I'm really thankful that they exist, and I'm thankful for all these people that exist. And yeah, man, I'm just really happy to be a part of this family. So thank you for hearing me out. I hope everybody's staying safe. And yeah, much love, big love.
Yeah, so we're glad you're part of the family too, Cult Boognish. And a nice story.
I love how she talks about the Ween fan community or fandom community or whatever you want to call it in such a positive way. And there again, it's nice to hear someone say something like that in this day and age, because we talked about it on the show a few times, back in the gritty days. I mean, there was a little bit more of a rough edge to things, and that sort of you know what I mean? It's so nice to hear someone who can see the positivity in things that are going on now. And I completely agree with her. Absolutely 100%. You know what I mean? There's so many cool people and artists that are making stuff, and people love it. And it's just so much fun, so Sonia's a big part of that, and big shout out to her. And thank you so much for the story.
Also, her giving the shout out to Golden Country Greats is always a quick way to my heart, because that's also one of my faves.
Oh yeah.
So anyone else who likes that album, I'm cool with. But yeah, so we're moving right along. Next honorable mention is our buddy Andre up in Canada. What's up, Andre? Thank you so much for the submission.
Good day, my name's Andre. I'm making a recording that my friend Matter pointed out to me that's happening with Ween. So the story is, in 2003, we heard Ween is coming to town. So we dropped everything and got tickets, got excited, got drunk, got high, went to the show, blew our minds away. Just unbelievable, because we didn't really know that much about them. And I was just shocked to see their Jeaner and Diener both play off each other and play for 3 hours. And it was just mind-blowing. We had to take a break. We had to go to the bar and drink. And then, wow, these guys are still playing. And then we went back and saw the show. And anyone who's seen a Ween show would agree it's unbelievable. So we are done, and they're gone. They're off the stage. They did an encore. Or two, or even three, I can't remember. But I was pretty wasted. Then we're at the bar, and I'm like, yeah. I look to my left, and there's the drummer for Ween. And I'm like, dude, you're the drummer for Ween. And he's like, Quavo's called. I'm like, yeah. So we just buy shots, and I'm drinking with Claude and having a blast. And then after, I don't know, a few drinks later, he's like, yeah, let me introduce you to my friend. So we walk over to where they were sitting, and then I'm like, yeah, you should have seen the show. And I'm like, just going off about how good the keyboardist is. And this guy just could play anything and forever and over. And I've never seen a theremin played like that. And he's like, oh yeah, that was me. I'm just like, oh, okay. So it was just a blast. And then the guy had a Polaroid camera, and he took a picture. I have a picture of Claude and I. And since then, I've always been a big Ween fan, but since then, it just put everything into perspective, because they're just such nice guys. We asked, where's Diener, and they're like, well, they decided to stay in. And that was the most historical, memorable, crazy, fun time, was meeting Glenn and Claude from Ween, summer of 2003. Hope to see them again, and thanks guys for letting us post these stories, and thanks Matter for pointing out that this is happening. Wish everyone well, and hope everyone's taking care of their health and being respectful to each other, and with all this stuff that's going on. Okay, cheers guys.
Yeah, man. Cheers right back to you, Andre.
Yeah, shout out to Andre. That is just that's so great. I mean, I know that I know, Rory, you've met Claude in person. Obviously, we had him on the podcast. We were speaking with Claude over the phone, but I can pretty safely say that, like, you know how they say, you know, never meet your heroes. Claude is one of those guys that, like, you know, no, it's okay to meet Claude. You know,
Oh, I can just imagine that was just an awesome time for Andre. I'm sure Claude was just a gentleman and just happy to chill. And then to throw on top of that, like, you know, oh, here's Glenn after you've just been like gushing about him. I think that's awesome, because I love Glenn too, and I would totally, you know, gush about his performance as well.
Absolutely. I mean, that's just so great.
Yeah.
And the fact that he brings up the Polaroid camera, come on, that's so baller. You know,
Yeah, dude.
I would love to have a Polaroid photo of me and any of the guys from Ween. That's so cool.
Oh yeah, dude. No, Andre sent us the picture, like proof, you know, like proof of his story, and it's a great picture.
Yeah, that's
It's
so
fantastic.
awesome.
It's fantastic. So yeah, dude, and also 2003, summer of 2003. That's like a heady time, man. Like,
Yeah, Quebec
there's
shit.
some big time shows going on back there. There's some hard rock
Totally.
and Ween. So that's a
Yeah.
great time. So yeah, man. All right, man. So we got another honorable mention coming your way. This one is from Laura. She's got a cool story to share about her time working the massage tent at Riot Fest, and we'll let her we'll let her fill in all the rest of the details.
In 2019, I had the pleasure of managing a massage tent backstage at Riot Fest for the performers and their crew. It was really long days. We would get there at like 7 in the morning and work up till the headliners came on, which was pretty late. And it was really hot, and the first day was really windy, and I was managing a crew of, I don't know, it was over 10 people between two tents. So it was pretty stressful, but I would let myself like go and see one concert a day. So Saturday night I was going to see Ween, and I was hoping on closing the tent down a little bit early because it was a really hectic, stressful, exhausting day, and I just wanted to go and enjoy a concert. So things had really died down, and I was getting ready to shut down the tent. Some dude comes up and wants a massage, and I thought, oh man, okay, one more. So dude was really nice though, and he insisted on tipping me. He didn't have any cash, so he wanted my Venmo, and I stupidly had made a mistake when I signed up for Venmo of adding an extra letter in the handle that I'd chosen. So I've just been giving like so many people my incorrect Venmo address because of that typo, but whatever. My big goal was to go and see Ween. So I'm like, don't worry about it. Here's my Venmo. And shut down the tent, jogged. I don't know how long it was. It was the other side of this huge park in Chicago. Jogged over there and made it in time, like 2 to 3 songs into their set. And I look up on the stage, and the dude that I was just giving a massage to is playing the drums. It's Claude Coleman Jr. So I felt really stupid. I'm like, oh wow, I should have maybe mentioned, hey, don't worry about a tip. I'm in a rush to go see Ween. You know, maybe that could have been really cool. I could have gotten a golf cart right over there or something. Who knows? But anyway, here we are. So, and then also I was taking pictures, and they had those quintessential backs of the heads, you know. And when I put them on social media, a friend of mine noticed that the back of the head that was in all my pictures was the back of her friend's head. And her friend were standing right in front of me. But again, I was so clueless, I didn't even realize. It was still a very cool concert, though. It probably could have been a little cooler had I mentioned something to Claude, or had I noticed that my friend was right in front of me in the audience. But Ween shows are always awesome. So that's my cool Ween story.
Big shout out to Laura. And I have to say, I won't go too deep into the story, but we're actually going to have Laura on the podcast. Actually, like, get her to tell us the story during Riot Fest, like the night that Ween went on. And I can't remember if it was her idea or my idea. I think I might have just posted on Twitter, like, hey, anybody that's going to be at Riot Fest, like, we want to hear the story. And she totally volunteered and was so nice and everything. But we just couldn't get a good cell signal with her on the phone. So it just never really, like, worked out. But I was under the impression it was like her and like another woman who were doing like the massages. I had absolutely no idea it was a whole crew of like her with that many people, or I absolutely would have just said like, no, like, you know, you're way too busy. Like, please just do your work and, you know, try to have fun. You know, there we were trying to get her on the phone at the same time. So I felt terrible when I heard this story. I'm like, oh my God, like she's trying to, you know, organize this whole crew. I love how it's another Claude story, though.
Yeah. No, I was just thinking that, too. I was like, oh, 2 in a row here. That's great. No, it's great. And, of course, it's another Claude story, you know, so it's really because he's just awesome. And he's ubiquitous. He's everywhere, you know. I also appreciate that it's like a behind the scenes, you know. I just really enjoy learning about whatever work job it is, you know, like that what people are doing behind the scenes of like that kind of shit. And you know, just thinking about the heat and like the mayhem and like 2 tents and all those workers, and having that many workers means you totally know that there's just tons of people getting massages like constantly, like, so it just must have been mayhem, you know. So I really like that glimpse into like a little behind the scenes on that action too. So
my question for Laura would have been, if she would have realized that was the drummer of Ween, would she have been too nervous to actually give him the massage? That's my question now.
I think
like, would she have just?
She's a pro. I think she's a pro, and she would rock it out.
Would she have been a little bit too like geeked out? Like, oh my God, like you're one of the guys from Ween, you know? No, I'm sure she would have been totally cool with it, and she seems just so nice. And thank you so much, Laura, for the story and just really great shit.
Totally. All right, man. So we got one more honorable mention, and then we're going to roll into our top 3. So we're getting down to the nitty gritty here, folks. We got 4 more stories for you. So the next one coming up, the next honorable mention, this one comes from our buddy Eli from Ween Zine. If you haven't checked it out, check out Ween Zine. It's awesome. And check out Eli's podcast. He's awesome. But anyway, here's his story. So let's roll with it.
What's up, everyone? This is Eli Schwab from the Ween Zine. Wanted to shout out to the guys at the Weencast here. And I wanted to share a great story from my weaning. So I have seen Ween a few times, not a million times, but one of the big times I went to was the McCarran Pool Adventure 725 2008. Insane show. I was living in Burlington, Vermont at the time, and we were driving to New York. Our trip there was twofold. We were picking up a friend from the airport who was moving back to Burlington after living in St. John in the Virgin Islands, where a few people in our group, including myself, had gone and worked and lived for a while and enjoyed ourselves immensely. And so our friend CeeLo was coming back. We were picking her up at the airport, me and Mina, her friend, and we were meeting a bunch of people down there at McCarran Pool. Shout out Mo, Wally, Brozif, Margot, Lambone, and tons of other people, Liggy. And the whole plan was we were going to go see Ween, and then we're going to go see the Sound of Urchin after party. So the drive from Burlington down to New York City was kind of crazy. We had some things that help concentration and can sharpen you. And we were sharpening ourselves throughout the trip. And it was getting crazy, and I shot through a toll thing, and it was getting crazy, and the timing was getting down, and like cell phones weren't huge then, so it was like bad reception. And then like finally we heard from CeeLo when we were about there, and CeeLo's like, oh man, my flight's gonna be late. And then so we had to take this whole other route to not go to the airport and to loop around and go back up to Brooklyn. We were late, man. I have this memory of coming in during like spinal meningitis, I think. So like I missed a good amount of exactly where I'm at, transdermal, I'm looking at the set list right now. But so we got in, and like, I mean, it was hell to get in, but we finally got there. We got there. And, first thing our buddies see us, so Brozif's like, here you go, dude. Brozif is like, got this fat J for you. And I'm like, yes, dude, it's perfect. We did all this. This is exactly what I need. I have told this story before. It was in the Ween Zine. I actually did a comic about it. And I have this vision of myself at that point taking that drag off that joint that was like, Steve Zissou slow-mo when he's on the ship there. And so that happened. And just immediately, 1 second later after that, flashlight in my eyes, son, what are you doing there? I flicked the J, and I'm like, nothing, sir. And they're like, we know you did. They're like searching around the ground for the Jaybird, and like Wally kicked it or something like that, but because they couldn't find it, but they're still like, we saw you smoking, we know exactly what you're doing. So they literally cuffed me and Mina, took us down to the station house. And so we were there for like 3 songs in McCarran Pool, and then immediately got arrested for it's a plant, but it can't grow freely. So god damn it, we're down to the jailhouse, and they're searching us, and it was, I mean, there may or may not have been something hidden in Mina's brassiere the entire time that could have spelled certain doom for your hero. And it was never found, which was insane. So the show ends. We're probably in the station house for about an hour. Mina or Brozif and Margot and Lambone basically said they scored balloons on the corner right next to the police station. Did the balloons, came in and sprung us loose. Oh my God. We all went up to that Sound of Urchin show. It was insane. The first thing I remember is coming to the bar. I can't exactly remember where the show was, but I remember Liggy being like, Jailbird, and I was like, no. And so then, we were chatting with Liggy, and then we went on and saw an amazing show. We just all stayed in this giant hotel room. It was a big hotel party, a huge Burlington crew. I mean, I didn't get to see a ton of Ween that night, but we did tear the night down with the Sound of motherfucking Urchin. So that was crazy. That was a really fun Ween experience in my life. Take me away some other day. Take me away. Blow.
Yeah, dude.
So first of all, I would say, big ups to Eli, CeeLo, and Lambone, because those are my fucking boys right there.
Lambone. CeeLo, I keep imagining that it's the producer CeeLo, that did I Think You're Crazy. I think you're crazy. That song. I keep imagining that that's the CeeLo that he's picking up at the airport. That's involved. So, or whatever the hell is the story. So I keep imagining that's the story.
Yeah, that would be the bomb.
I hope that's true.
Yeah, but no, seriously, thank you so much to Eli. And the podcast is Cosmic Lion Radio. If you're into comic books at all, check it out. There's a lot of cool comic book artists and stuff like that on. I love how he has the story that includes the Urchin After Party. That's another one of those shows, and I'm like, man, where was I for that? Like both of them, the Ween show and the Urchin show. Like, fuck,
yeah,
I should have,
totally.
I should have made
what an
that
awesome
happen.
combo. I mean, obviously we were lucky enough to see that in action, but not like an after party style. Like, dude, that's awesome. Sound of Urchin, After Party.
Yeah,
you don't get much better than that.
And New York can just be so so full of anxiety, but it's always worth it. You know what I mean? Like, just like listening to his story, it's like, oh, that sounds so frustrating and totally like believable. But we should have made both of those shows happen.
Yeah, totally. And all's well that ends well. Like, what a crazy story.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. All right, everybody get ready. This is the top 3. And the second runner-up, that's a fancy way of saying third, I guess. But the second runner-up, this one comes from Ricardo of Ween Army. So big shout-out to Ween Army group on Facebook. And Ricardo. So let's let Ricardo speak for himself.
This is the story, I guess, of how I got into the band Ween. It was years ago, me and my best friend in the whole world. He says it was 92, I say it was 93. I don't know, I was in 10th grade, that's all I remember. And I remember he introduced me to this cassette, and it was during when I was cutting class, and he was going to the bathroom or something. So we ended up being in the hallway or some shenanigans like that. And then he's like, bro, I got some self-consumption fun, and we're going to hang out this weekend, and you need to hear this band. And I go, what's the band? And he pulls out the cassette tape, and it was Pure Guava. And I'm sorry, man, the first initial reaction to that was, what the fuck is this? And he's like, nah, man, you're going to love this. You're going to love this. I'm like, that looks pretty corny, but whatever, dude, that's cool. I mean, you haven't steered me wrong. He was like my music guru. So anytime he would say, yo, this is really good, it was 9 times out of 10 awesome. So fast forward to the weekend. We end up meeting at his house, taking our liquid reality, and, we're hanging out, smoking cigarettes, chopping it up, bullshitting, going on about the day, and then all of a sudden I'm like, whoa. And he's like, all right, we got to pop it in now. So we pop it in, and I start freaking out. I'm like, bro, your tape's getting eaten. And it turned out it was Little Birdie. He's like, no, man, that's how it's supposed to sound. I go, wow, okay. We're in for a treat. So, as the tape goes on, like, each song was so different. You know what I mean? It was like listening to a mixtape. It was never the same sound or same style. It just kept going. And, I really dug that. Songs were really fucking weird. They were really weird. The one that really got me, and I don't mean in a good way, the one that really got me was Morning Glory. I did not dig that at all. It was very nightmarish. And when we hung out, you had to write it out. You couldn't leave the room. The only time we left the room is when the music stopped. We went to go get snacks or, something to drink. Then we come back and we start playing the music again. So we had to ride this wave. And it was the most intense and scary song at that time that I've ever heard in my entire life. And then it ends with Boob Chip. That was hilarious. But, he had this tape player that would, when the one side ended, it would play the other side. So it just kept going. And we listened to this album, like, I don't even know how many times a night. And it just kept sounding different every single time. It was just like a new album every single time. And the more it went on, the more I kind of understood what was going on. That's when I was like, oh, this band is amazing. I see what they're kind of doing. I kind of get what's going on. And, I started paying more attention to, the bass line. Oh my God, these bass lines are sweet. And that was pumping for the man. That bass line was ridiculous. Then, I was like, wow, they're getting really deep on this one. Really profound sounding. And that was Sarah. And then the Bowie-esque, I guess, song, Don't Get Too Close to My Fantasy. And I was like, this is like listening to a bizarro world version of, these bands. So, clear heads prevail. And then the next day, I'm like, we need to go and find whatever these guys put out. Let's buy it all. So we ended up going to this place called My Generation. That's where we used to get our music all the time in Westlake, Ohio. And we used to spend hours in this place. Like that was our thing. We're like, oh, you got tomorrow off, let's go here and let's go buy music. And we'd spend hours in there. But we were there for a specific reason. We had to get some more Ween. They only had the Pod and Pure Guava. So we ended up buying those, taking it home, started listening to the Pod, and then we listened to God, Ween, Satan, noticed like how different they were. When we got to God, Ween, Satan, we're like, whoa, this is way different. It's more polished. It sounds like studio quality. And well, anyway, so here I am 25 plus years later, jamming this group like I just discovered them. There's always something new. Whenever you dig deep, there's always something new. And that leads me to this thing I do in this group that I run called Jam for the Flam. Jam for the Flam is pretty much just a Ween DJ show, Moist Boys and anything connected to them. And Facebook wasn't digging that, so they were muting out my shows. I do about a 4-hour show, and they mute out the songs because it's copyright. So what it caused us to do is to go deeper than just studio stuff or just live stuff. So now we're digging really deep, and it's a fun time. Hopefully if you're in the group Ween Army, you can enjoy this whenever I do it. There's a podcast version up in YouTube, and hopefully you dig it. It's about 4 hours. And with that said, thanks for listening to me to ramble on, and hopefully I see you guys soon at a Ween show. Stay safe out there. Thanks for listening.
Yeah, man. Also, I love the production value of this story. It's fantastic.
Yeah, this guy definitely, has his shit together when it comes to making a recording. That story just takes me back to, we've talked about this on our show a few times too, about just like the old days of, you put on the album and like, that's what you had, man. For the most part, I remember having those nights with you where it was just like, okay, we're going to start this shit. We're listening to the whole thing. We're not skipping anything. You know what I mean? Dude. And you just don't see that as much anymore of, listening to a whole piece of art. It's just everything is just broken down into like, oh, here's these like 3 tracks that are the best songs on, this record, and the fact that these guys listen to the whole thing of Pure Guava on cassette tape, that's fucking great. And that takes me back to a simpler time. Any younger fan out there, hey man, fuck the computer, fuck the phone, go back and do it fucking right. Go dude. Old school with it. Just start the thing and listen to the whole thing.
Well, dude, in my, so I had the CD of Pure Guava initially, but I actually gave that to a friend. For some reason, I don't remember. But my Pure Guava was always on cassette tape. So that was pretty cool connection. But also I appreciate the tape deck that just plays automatically over and over again. Like doesn't, just like flips for itself. So that's just awesome how like you're just hanging out and then like Pure Guava just keeps replaying itself over and over and over again. That's pretty cool.
And you would just be like, oh, side 2. All right, cool.
Dude, and it's like, I just want to say that I like, I've been stuck in those cassette tape time warps, myself. So I know exactly how it is. So yeah, dude, so that was our second runner up. Thanks a lot for the story, Rick from Ween Army.
Thanks, Rick.
That was awesome. Now we move on to our first runner up, and here's a little ditty from Sean from Why Does It Matter podcast. He gives us a story about well, we'll let him tell you. How about that?
I believe the year was 2014, 2013. You know, why am I recording this before I even look it up? Like, I mean, what the fucking shit? I get a phone call from my guitar player, Robert Fulton, and he says, dude, every now and then, an opportunity comes along that you can't say no to. You've got to take it. And I'm like, oh, cool. You're a great guitar player. I guess you're canceling our visit to Vermont for some gigs. And he's like, oh, no. This guy, Mickey, he's the guitar player from Ween, you know, Dean Ween, Diener, you know, he posted something on Facebook where he was looking for a keyboard player that was into Floyd and played like Wakeman. So I gave him your phone number. And I was like, what the fuck, man? And at this time, I hadn't played keys in a while. It wasn't my thing. I wanted to focus on guitar. And he's like, well, you know, like, just hear him out, see what he's got to say. I'm like, all right, well, you know, I guess so. And he's like, you know, a lot of people are going to know your name after this if you do this gig. I'm like, sure. And, like, you know, like the tens of people that do, I love them all. So I get this voicemail, and it's Mickey like, hey, man, what's up? My name is Mickey, a.k.a. Dean Ween from the band Ween. I got a band called Echoes, and all we do is play Echoes by Pink Floyd. And at that moment, I just hit save, and I did the most professional thing. I texted him and said, I'm in a guitar lesson right now, but I will call you back immediately, but I'm your man, because Echoes is my favorite Pink Floyd song of all time. Of all time. Best Pink Floyd song, period, done. Long story short, I'm sure you've seen the video that Mickey posted. So, yeah, it was just weird. Like, you know, I'm getting a phone call from this dude, and I'm like, what? Like, why is my phone number being given out to people I don't know? And totally worth it. One of the greatest gigs of my life. That's my Ween fan story, I guess. Yeah.
Dude, Echoes is awesome.
Oh, man. I mean, well, first of all, shout out to Sean. Thank you so much. It's What Does It Matter podcast. Check it out. Just, you know, great, cool show. Just him basically, you know, talking about whatever he wants to talk about. But I love how, I mean, I never knew about this. I knew that, you know, Ween and like some of the other guys like Be Ill, like sat in with them a few times and played Echoes, like when they were just like jamming in New Hope and shit like that. But like, I didn't know that Mickey was like, no, let's just start a band called Echoes and we'll just play Echoes. It's like, come on, dude. That's so fucking awesome.
Yeah, dude.
I mean, that's so cool.
That's, and that's definitely, you know, Echoes is definitely one of my favorite Pink Floyd songs as well. So like, that's so freaking cool. And what a great coincidence for him. That like that's how that went down, you know, because you would have been, you know, happy to do that with Diener kind of regardless, but to have it be your favorite Pink Floyd song and get to jam, extended jam, you know, with Diener doing Echoes. I mean, dude,
yeah,
I bow down to that.
Yeah, man, that's legit shit. I mean, that's the fucking bomb. I mean, I can almost clearly picture in my head the first time I ever saw metal on vinyl, which I think I just picked up for like a couple of bucks at like a flea market or something because I was getting into Pink Floyd, and just seeing that like side B was just one song, Echoes.
You know you're getting into it when one side is one song from Pink Floyd, you know?
Yeah. Life-changing kind of shit, you know?
Totally. Yeah.
So dude, that's great. Thank you so much, Sean.
Yeah, and also another person, thank you so much for taking the time to put like a background track.
Oh
like,
yeah,
dude. I mean,
cool shit.
We are humbled by your presence. We are honored. We are honored by your presence. Some kind of H word. Humbled, honored. I don't know. Go with whatever you want on that. But all right, dude. So this brings us down to the winner.
This is it.
Yeah, dude. So obviously, this is all subjective. And, you know, we sort of, all these stories are so different, and we just sort of measure them up kind of in our own way against each other. First, I want to say that the winner gets an awesome Boognish and Blazing cutting board from West Brandywine Woodworks. That we'll be getting in contact with you shortly and arranging all that with you. So fear not. We'll take care of that stuff on the side. Everyone, don't forget, use the code Weencast at West Brandywine Woodworks. Get 10% off or free shipping of orders over $100. So check them out on Instagram, Facebook, or Etsy. All the social media stuff. And yeah, dude, so I can do like a fake drum roll here. All right, and so this is the winner here. The winner, I love this story. It hits you on all the feels, all kinds of levels, and so it's pretty cool. And before we lay it out for you, I'll just say that I also love that the story actually had a great title, and the title is "Fortune Favors the Bold." Ween Lebowski. This story is coming from Helen, and we'll let her tell the amazing story that has won the Weencast Summer Spectacular Ween Fan Story Contest. The winner is, again, Helen, with this amazingly awesome story.
Yeah.
One of the many reasons that Ween is so special to me is their phoenix-like reemergence. The thing that you need to understand is the fact that they got back together at all is like a miracle. I saw them in 2016 at one of the lowest points of my life, going through a divorce, etc. And the fact that they came back together kind of signaled to me that anything's possible. Maybe one day I'll find true love. I swear to God, it's just how I feel. It was like a sign. So I was super excited to also see them in 2017 at Brooklyn Steel, which had just opened not too far from Brooklyn Bowl. So it was June 6th and 7th in 2017 at Brooklyn Steel. And both shows were amazing. I have a shit memory when it comes to set lists because I'm usually pretty wasted, but I also just get caught up in the moment and don't pay attention to the order. Anyway, the neighborhood it's in is pretty residential, meaning you get out and it's not like the city is alive and, you know, moving and grooving. Everything's shut down. And this is important because there's no place to pee. And once you leave a venue, they won't let you back in. So the hilarity ensues once I realize all my friends have dispersed. The usual bullshitting and chit-chatting, which turns into like an hour of standing around after a show. I gotta piss like a racehorse, like the Stallion, parts 1 through 5. It's something horrible. And as a female, it's harder. I'm just gonna be honest. You just can't whip it out. And I'm not gonna Jersey Turnpike it. I'm pretty classy, or I try to be. Anyway. So I find my car, and I'm about to get in and try to drive around and find a gas station or someplace I can go use the bathroom. And I realize that's not going to happen. There's nothing within miles. The only chance I have is maybe to walk around the building and beg to get back into the venue. And at this point, I'm not even high or drunk really anymore. I'm just consumed by finding a bathroom. So I rush around the corner and I see Mickey and another guy standing having a cigarette outside of this place. And it's dead. There's nobody. There's like quiet all around. And he's always super nice anyway, but I must have looked urgent because I waited for the other guy to finish talking and then complimented him on the show and et cetera, et cetera. And he offered to take a pic with me, which I loved, and I just said, I'm very sorry to have to do this to you, but can you please make a security guard let me in? I just need to pee. I'm going to die. And maybe of embarrassment, but he was a complete sweetheart, and he actually escorted me into the green room and into the bathroom area. Like, I was blown away. P.S. I have no shame. When you gotta go, you gotta go. Anyway, I get out and I was looking for him because I wanted to get a quick picture, but he was gone. But I did get to meet Dave, the bassist, which is a first. So he was super sweet, and I was able to share with him a story that I had seen him in Teaneck with the old rugged sauce years ago. And that was a fucking awesome thing when Jeaner was touring alone or, unplugged. So it was a great show, and I loved my little VIP bathroom experience, and I got a bunch of cool shit. I got to meet Mickey again. I've met him a few times. Anybody in the band, I've never had a bad experience just running into them. They're always super nice. So I cannot wait to see what the future holds.
That's just such a great story. I love how, she makes it sound like she just stumbles upon Mickey and is just like, hey, I just have to use the bathroom. I also love, seriously though, in the beginning, how she talks about, like them coming back together, and it sort of like meant something to her. And, I think there's a lot of us that have had, those moments around this band, and, moments around going to shows and stuff like that. So that's really cool that she was able to share that with all of us. So we thank her for that.
Yeah, dude. And I would say that, I feel like, as a guy, I can kind of whip it out, as she says. But if I was looking for a bathroom, dude, I wouldn't have the guts to go up and ask him. I would probably just freak out and forget about it and try to pee somewhere in public. So that's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
that she goes through that, and so it's just a ridiculous show, concert story. But yeah, it's so much positivity, man, in the Ween community tonight with all these stories, including this one.
Totally. Well, so we thank everyone for sending in their story. This has been so much fun. We're going to have to do it again sometime. And like I was saying in the beginning of the episode, maybe we won't make it a contest. Maybe we'll just do it for fun. You know what I mean? I think there was a lot of people who maybe didn't quite even realize that there was a prize to be won and just sent us a story anyway. So like, that's so fucking cool. And this has just been great. So everybody that submitted a story, thank you again. And, we hope you enjoyed them all, really. We as much as we did.
Yeah, totally. No, I want to say thank you to everyone again. So many great stories. And it really was hard to pick a winner. But someone's got to win. Someone's got to win the Boognish and Blazin' cutting board from West Brandywine Woodworks. I'm trying to get my plugs in. But anyway, yeah, dude, no, fantastic night. Thank you, everyone, for listening. We'll have to do this again sometime. But yeah, dude, you got anything else? I'm good.
No, just, again, check us out on Patreon, patreon.com/weencastpodcast. Yeah, thank you so much for listening again. Peace.
Peace, everybody, and thanks for the fun. Summer's over, but autumn's just begun.